Okay, well, here we are again at the National Religious Broadcasters Conference, and I've got another guest for you today. Super excited to have Glenn Clary joining us here on Truth and Liberty. And Glenn, you are the Vice President of Liberty University.
I'm one of the vice presidents. We actually have 24, and the department I oversee is Strategic Partnerships and Alliances.
Strategic partnerships. Well, wow, you're in the right spot here. We'd love to be a strategic partner of Liberty. Liberty has seen just incredible growth over the last 10 years, right?
We have, we have like 16,000 students on campus, and then we have like 130,000 students online. We have a K through 12 homeschool group that's about 20,000 strong. So, and then we even have a trade school now. So we're reaching all of the different academic arenas, and we have over 700 academic degree programs. So Liberty reaches out. We have 50 countries that are people in 50 countries that are getting trained through Liberty University, and all on a biblical worldview.
Well, that's amazing. You know, just a side note. So we're our founder is Andrew Womack, and he founded a Bible college, Charis Bible College, and a couple of years ago, I think the senior leadership went out to Liberty to learn what they could about your secret for success, and they were just so impressed with the operation and the excellence of the facilities and the hospitality and everything there. So, Well, Glenn, I'm glad you're here and stopped by our booth. I've got so many questions for you, but let's just talk about, for a second, if we can, where we are in America today and the importance of training our youth and our young people in a biblical worldview. And I know that's probably a priority for Liberty. So can you comment on that?
I can. George Barna's got a good book called Training Spiritual Leaders and Bringing Them Up. And he states in that book, if we don't reach this next generation, the churches and our culture as we know it is going to collapse and fail. And it's our responsibilities as the spiritual leaders now to reach the next generation. And one thing that Liberty is doing is that we're providing a curriculum, a K through 12 curriculum that can be used by churches across America to stand up either a pod school, a traditional school, a micro school, and so they can use that curriculum in any format that they want in order to give their parishioners, their parents, and the children in their church an educational alternative. It also helps the church grow because as they provide that for their church members, it's also provided in the community, and it'll be an outreach to the community, and the church will have more people come to the church and help. Provides a revenue stream, and it will just educate the next generation with a biblical worldview in all aspects academic.
That's fantastic. So is that curriculum for an actual brick and mortar school at a local church, or is it online?
Both. It could be either or.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Absolutely. And one thing is that if a student in their junior and senior year use our curriculum and they do dual enrollment, they can come to Liberty for 50% off if they choose to come to Liberty University.
Okay.
So it's got some great components to it.
That's fantastic. Well, so I think George Barna, you mentioned him, based on his studies, the first biblical worldview report he issued several years ago said that only 6% of Americans hold to a biblical worldview. And then he came out with one 2 years later, say it's down to 4%.
Yes.
And then I saw some studies that amongst America's youngest generation, that it was 2%. So this, to me, is a 5-alarm fire for the church in America. The nation that was once the most Christian nation in the history of the world, now we only have 2 to 4% of our people see the world through a biblical lens. What is Liberty doing to address that? And do we need to, how can we rise to the occasion here?
Well, you're spot on when you quote Barna about that. I was just with him several weeks back down in Naples, Florida at the LifeWise annual banquet down there, and he was the keynote speaker, and he brought his slides and his research, and he's still maintaining it's 4%. But he says, listen, if we do not reach the next generation, then we're doomed. And we need to heed his words. Yeah. He knows what's going on in our culture, and he has hit the pulse, his finger on the pulse of the culture. And I think Liberty can contribute to educating and standing up this next generation with a solid biblical worldview so that we can save our country. We can't just save it politically.
Yeah.
We have got to save it in the hearts and the minds of the young people that are coming through the educational system. Because what we have now, we call these, I call them war zones. People call it public education. It's just devastating what's being done in that. And it's great that people are out there trying to salvage it and turn it around. And it is one of the things that people have to use. But we want to provide these alternatives. And so if we can get these going, I think many of the parents who have their children in public schools would use this educational alternative for their children.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think parents all over America are looking for options and alternatives
Yes.
to the government-run schools because they're failing. And it's even if you set aside the cultural decay, just the academic performance of our public
Yes.
schools is absolutely embarrassing.
Right, yeah. It's probably the lowest it's ever been in math scores, English scores, reading scores, and that's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, we're becoming a third world country within our own public education system, and we shouldn't be doing that.
Well, President Trump has pointed out that America now ranks 50th in
Yes.
the world in the quality of our education system, and we used to be number one.
Yeah.
I mean, how much lower can we get, right? Yeah. So, so Liberty is obviously a Christian university.
Yes.
And can you comment a little bit about, maybe you're not the most knowledgeable, I don't know, but I was just chatting with Matt Staver, founder of Liberty Counsel, about what Liberty has been through in the last few years. You're targeted literally by the Biden administration for, some massive fines and things like that. How's Liberty standing strong against should we say, the weaponized justice system in America?
Well, we recognized and admitted the mistakes that we did make. We corrected those things and we moved on. And Liberty is just doing a very good ministry for the Lord Jesus Christ. It's just super what our president, Don DeCostin, is doing for Liberty University, and the board and the executive committee that President Costin has put around himself. They're just doing gangbusters and really doing what they can to protect and promote Liberty University.
Yeah. Well, Glenn, as universities sort of have a unique perspective as you see the young people coming in and kind of have maybe a finger on the pulse of what's happening culturally in a way that other people can't. And so I've seen some studies that are kind of promising about the attitude and mindset of, I think they're down to now they're starting over A or AA. I don't know what the youngest generation is. Can't keep track of all that. But that they're actually shifting right or conservative in a dramatic way. Are you guys seeing that? And is there hope for the future?
I think we see a little bit of movement. We want to see a whole bunch more. We're interested in getting ministry in the marketplace. So no matter what degree you get at Liberty, out of the 700 degrees that we offer, whatever walk of life that God has planned for you and purposed for you, and you walk into that, we want you to take ministry into that marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what about the church? How's the church doing in your mind in terms of discipling the nation and in terms of, instilling a biblical worldview in our culture?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I think a 5-day-a-week school is important for these churches to embrace and to stand up. Because we're not going to educate our children in a biblical worldview just 1 day a week, 1 hour in Sunday school, if you will.
Right.
And many churches, that's their format. You meet 1 day a week, they may have 3 services, but you go to one service, your children are in Sunday school at the time. And so you don't have an opportunity to disciple the children and the next generation like you need to. And that's another reason why pastors should consider standing up a Christian school.
Yeah, I kind of say that often. I'm like, okay, so we got our 80-90% of our children in America are in secular indoctrination camps called public schools.
Exactly.
Right? Learning that they're an accident, they evolved from primordial slime, that there's no such thing as truth, that America's an evil nation, and on we go. And we think we're going to make them into wholehearted followers of Jesus Christ by having them in youth group where they get a 20-minute message once a week, and those are the radical Christians, right? So how can we stack that up? It's not possible, it's not realistic. And it seems like the way we do church in America now is sort of, we think things are like they were 50 years ago or 100 years ago, and the world has changed underneath us, and we've got to respond to that.
Unbelievably changed. Yeah. And you cannot get a child firmly based in biblical principles by going to church one day a week. They're learning the biblical stories, but they don't know how to apply them. Yeah. They don't know what the principle behind that story and behind those truths of God's word are, so they can make application of that in their life, which is what we think that biblical worldview is. Yeah. The capacity to apply biblical principles to every aspect of life.
Yeah. And so I'm a pastor out there, Glenn, and I'd love to have a Christian school, but boy, that sounds like a lot of money and a lot of work, and I've only got 150 people in my church. What do I do?
That's the perfect size of a church to start a pod school or a smaller school. And you call us and we'll help you with that.
Oh, fantastic.
We want to come alongside of you. We're working with Herzog and other organizations, and then we are graduating people in our education classes with degrees in administration, principals, wannabe teachers, and we want to partner them with a pastor who has a desire to stand up a Christian school, so that we can put that pastor and that individual together, and that individual can help them stand up the school. We have the curriculum. It's already accredited. You don't have to go out and find that. We're writing a playbook for pastors to follow so that they can stand up that Christian school and make it much easier for them. We're going to be with those pastors that want to raise their hand and say, yes, I volunteer to do this. I see the vision for this to save our country.
That's exciting. So where do people go to learn more about this?
They've got to call Liberty University and ask for Glenn Clary, and our department is tasked with this. We're under the Center for Church Advancement, and we're working toward advancing this within the United States of America.
And so does Liberty have a particular website you might refer them to find your contact information?
This is just relatively new, and it's not stood up yet,
but
okay. We're working on it.
All right, so just folks, you're watching, you're interested, just jump on the web, find a general number for Liberty, call. I'm sure they can direct you to just say Vice President Clary, and you can get them more information.
You got it. Or they can email me at gclary@liberty.edu.
All right, gclary at
liberty.edu.
All right, fantastic. Glenn, thanks for coming on today. Really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, Richard.
Right.
God bless you, man.
Thank you, you too.